Right, man. Look, the war is still on. The war is on. G. Bush responded today. Okay, now we all know G. Bush put out these tweets about how the local media has been hating on Shedeur, and if you don't like him that much, don't talk about him. He shouldn't be a story. He's not playing, etc. Anthony Lima went online and basically responded to that with his own tweets, and then went on 92.3 The Fan and took more shots. G. Bush was on UCSS today, and he addressed it and responded to everything. We got to get into it. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit the bell notification, hype the video. That'd be greatly appreciated. We got to get into this, man. Look, the war in the local Cleveland media is on. I'm riding with G. Bush. I'm just letting y'all know. I'm riding with the barbershop. I'm riding with G. Bush. The anybody but Shedeur Mafia has clearly exposed themselves a long time ago. But let's take a look at what G. Bush had to say about the entire situation.
But we begin the hour with controversy stirred by our own G. Bush. Let's get to these tweets that are
tearing the internet.
Everybody's going crazy about this.
Yeah, G set the internet on storm yesterday. He had a 3-tweet thread in the span of 6 minutes that generated over 100,000 impressions and over 2,500 likes. We're going to read these tweets and then kind of dive into them. G tweeted out, in order, this has to be said. If the media thinks Shedeur can't play, he's a 5th-round pick with no upside, then why does he lead every single topic in conversation? Watson is a starter. Get in your analyst bag and start talking about what needs to do week 1 against the Jags, #Browns. Next, Shedeur is good for business. I do Shedeur content because I think he can be the long-term answer. Others use his name for engagement. If he's just a backup quarterback with a famous last name, why is he your leading topic? Let's make a bet. No local media can go a week without mentioning him. And lastly, media acting like they're so burdened with the weight of having to talk about an irrelevant 5th-round pick. Okay, let me free up your schedule a bit. Just talk Guardians, Cavs, or high school football Friday Night Lights for 2 to 3 hours. Exactly. Good luck with that. So, G, the question is, now that Shedeur's quarterback 2, is he still worth being a discussion or a topic of discussion in the grand scheme of things with the Browns, or should it be dropped from our vernacular until he becomes QB1?
Well, this is a thought experiment. So it's the circular argument that we continue to have. The circular argument is Shedeur Sanders isn't very good, and Shedeur Sanders is not worth the pressure that he brings to your organization because people in his fan base are going to talk about him constantly. So I was just taking what you guys and most people say and doing a little thought experiment. If he's not that good, then why are we talking about him? Usually, generally speaking, we say we want our backup quarterbacks to be seen, not heard, and we want to talk about the people that are on the field, and the backup should not be a distraction. So my thought process is, Todd Monken said it when he talked to him, and he said, he had a smile on his face. I had another tweet in there and said he's concentrating on helping the team, being a good backup, and supporting Deshaun Watson. So, he's working on his game, and when he gets on the field, let's talk about it. My thing is, we go about the situation and say he's too famous, right? He's a distraction. He's doing these things, but yet and still, kind of like last year when Dylan was the starting quarterback, they went to Shedeur every single day and said, hey, what do you think about Dylan? What do you think about Stefanski? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? And so that media attention then feeds into the thing that you say you don't want. If we want the starting quarterback to have the runway and to talk about the people on the field, fine, let's just do that. But my thought process is this. If Deshaun Watson is the starter, the Browns say he gives them the best opportunity to win, let him go out here and either succeed or fail on his own merits. What I don't want to happen is if Deshaun Watson starts to play well or if he starts to play bad, every Wednesday, we go to Shedeur Sanders' locker room and say, hey, what do you feel about the struggles offensively? What do you think about Todd Monken? What do you think about the ownership? And are you ready to play? Do you think you could? No. Just talk to Deshaun Watson on his own merits and let him sink or swim based on what he's going to do. I just don't want a situation where we go into this year and it's the same thing that we had last year where Shedeur is the backup. He's not going out making comments, but people are always asking him questions about the quarterback position. And my question to everybody else is, okay, well, if he's not that good and he's a backup, we shouldn't be talking about it, right? Is that a fair
Go ahead,
assessment?
Chris. I'll go after.
So usually when you're in the locker room on Wednesdays, I believe when we're in there and talk to quarterbacks, you don't talk to the backup quarterback. It happened, I think, twice last year, and I forget what extenuating circumstances those were, but that's when Shedeur was interviewed, I think 2, maybe 3 times. So yeah, now that the quarterback is decided, it's Deshaun Watson, we're not going to hear from Shedeur Sanders anymore. They're not going to put him out on the podium. We're not allowed, or we're not going to go to his locker to get those comments. So I think that will die down a bit. I do.
One of the things that we heard was, Shedeur can't be a backup because of all the things he brings, and it puts undue pressure. We talked about it last year when Dylan Gabriel was the quarterback, and people after the 3rd or 4th game started saying, okay, well, and you got Dylan in a tough position. You got one of the most famous people in the world behind him. And when you think about it, Shedeur wasn't saying anything. He wasn't coming out talking about nothing. He didn't have any statements. So what I'm saying to you is, if we can learn from our situation last year, whether you believe he's a long-term quarterback or not, whether you think that the Browns are going to draft the other quarterback or not, the reality of this situation is Shedeur Sanders is concentrating and doing his job to be a backup and to get his opportunity on the field. And when his opportunity comes, by all means, let's go after it. But what I don't want to do is have it be a narrative where, Deshaun Watson isn't playing well because the Shedeur Sanders factor is a specter there. Because guess what? If he does play bad, the fans will cheer. The fans will want him. The fans will want to play him. The reality is he's a polarizing individual, not because what he does, is because we seek a lot of that out. Because at the end of the day, let's be honest with you, he is good for business. People talk about him all the time because he is good for business. So we can't act like he's a distraction and we don't want to cover him, but we know we are going to cover him.
So while there's obviously there's truth in what you're saying, that some people talk about him all the time because he's good for business, and fans always accuse people of doing things for clicks, and some people do things for clicks. That's true. Not everybody, but some people do. I don't agree with your general premise that you shouldn't talk about him if you don't think he's the long-term answer. He's in the public eye. It's fair game to talk about him. Now, to blame Shedeur Sanders for Deshaun Watson's failure because fans and media are talking about Shedeur Sanders, that's unfair. It's unfair to blame him for that. If you're going to talk about him a lot, you then can't blame him if Deshaun Watson doesn't play well. I don't think anybody's going to do that. Certainly not a lot of people. If they do, they're wrong. But I
think this guy can play, or can he not play? My thing that I'm actually pushing back is more of a commentary around the narrative that when you are very famous, when you have a lot of people who support you, you become inherently a person that is a distraction, right? And so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because you are famous, people want to know what you say and how you go about it.
Yes.
And then we go and talk to that person, and we seek that person out to say, we want to have, if Shedeur Sanders today said, I'm going to give somebody a one-on-one interview, right?
Yeah.
Anybody in the media would take it.
Yes.
They would take it.
Yes.
Even though if they didn't even think he was a good player, they would still take it because they understand that it is what it is.
It's your job.
It's your job, right?
Yeah.
I went about it, and I publicly said this. This is crazy. And
Yeah.
I said, if Shedeur Sanders said, let's do an interview today, I would actually say, I don't even know if that's a good idea. You know why? Because it's a situation where you putting undue stress on a situation where you putting the cart before the horse. At the end of the day, I think you should concentrate really on going out there, and when you play and get the opportunity, to do it at the best of your ability.
I don't know him doing an interview is stopping him from doing that.
But here's what the perception is.
Yeah.
The perception is, if we're doing an interview, there are going to be thousands of people out there that love the interview. There's going to be thousands of other people over there that hate the interview and say, why are you interviewing the backup quarterback? You need to be concentrated on what you're doing. And the thing I'm saying is that right? No, but that's life and that's human nature. So from my perspective, the way I come at it is, look, Shedeur Sanders is a guy who's a young player. I happen to believe that he can be a franchise quarterback. Maybe other people don't. But the thing that I don't want to do is I don't want to turn this conversation into, just because they chose Deshaun Watson, now Shedeur Sanders is the specter hanging over everything, which is going to put a cloud over the team.
Which he's going to be regardless because of the fanfare that he